Hey everyone, I just updated the YouTube link. So if you go back to Facebook and you share the post that is on the city page, you should be able to get the right thing.
The newest post.
Yeah, the newest post, I edited it.
So it's working.
Oh, what's on that?
Yeah, see this, I don't know. Yeah, me too. There it goes. So, away.
It's awful. See, like I can see like everything.
Hey, Courtney, it's JR. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, did you do an update on the Facebook page as well to share?
Yes, I did. It's on the City of Placa page.
It's got a YouTube logo on there.
Yes.
Did you do one for Facebook? I see the one for YouTube. Did you do an update for Facebook?
The Facebook one we're not doing. We just had to upload the video to YouTube for right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I got to hear them and they got to.
They can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're on. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is our City of Palaca, April 9th, 2020 Commission meeting. And at this time, we're going to start out with our pledge to the flag and our invocation. Everyone, please bow their heads. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come before you right now, just thanking you for another opportunity to come together. We ask that you be in the midst of all that we do and that we do everything according to what's pleasing in your sight. Lord, now we ask that you watch over all the families throughout this country, throughout the world, Lord. We ask that you just bless us all and keep us from hurt, harm, and danger. Lord, that you allow our citizens to be obedient to our stay-at-home orders and every other governmental order that's been implemented in its place. Lord, we ask that you just be with those who've been afflicted, that you grant healing power upon them, that you watch over our community, and that you allow us to escape the dangers of this horrible pandemic. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Roll call. Commissioner Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner McCaskill.
Here.
Commissioner Boer. Commissioner Boer, can you unmute? We can't hear you.
I hit unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we hear you now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm present.
Yes, sir. Vice Mayor Brown.
Present.
And so Terrell Hill's here. For the record, show that all members are present and accounted for, and we have a quorum. Moving forward, has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from our prior meetings?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second for approval of the minutes from both February 27th and March 24th. All in favor, say aye.
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 Nay, I haven't had a chance to read them, so I'm nay, and I haven't had a chance to read them.
Okay, so motion passes by a vote of 4-1. Moving forward, we're going to have our Pledge of Allegiance at this time. Flag is situated right behind me, so we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for
Which it stands, one nation, under
God, indivisible,
Indivisible.
with
There's
justice
liberty, justice for all.
Now we're moving to public comments. Public comments will be limited in this matter. We'll limit the public comments for the sake of our public audience to 2 minutes. The way we're handling public comments right now is we're streaming live. For those of you who are watching on our YouTube channel, it's the City of Palaca official page on YouTube. And also we shared the link through our Facebook page, which is Palaca, Florida City Hall. So those of you, if you can, like the page and subscribe to our YouTube page as well. If you like it and click on the icon that looks like a bell, you'll get any alerts that come up for new videos or anything else that's posted to the page. Also, for other individuals who want to get up to date information, we're also going to share the link for our Putnam Alert page. So Putnam Alert is where all the COVID-19 information is going. And so we would want everyone to sign in to putnamalert.com or go to the Putnam County Emergency Management's Facebook page, and that way you can get alerts twice a day on everything that's going on locally and statewide, as well as nationally as it relates to COVID-19. You'll have helpful hints there. And also if you dial 386-329-1904, you will have all the information as it relates to what's going on. Showing right now are the 2 pages that we have up. 2 pages of information, which gives you all the information as to the City of Palaca, and also It's the information that comes from the Florida Health Department as it relates to COVID-19. And so before we get into our agenda, and we get into public comment, I want to go ahead and share that information with you. First is for the city of Palaca. Our customer information reads as follows. We apologize for the inconvenience, but we want everyone to be safe. And so listed are all of your city hall numbers. The main number is 386-329-0100. It also gives you your non-emergency police numbers and fire numbers, as well as your public works number. All of our city buildings are closed to the public at this time, except for emergency situations.
I lost audio.
Can you hear me? Hello? Commissioner Williams?
I'm back on. Thank you.
Can you hear me? So all of the city offices are closed to direct public contact unless there's emergency situations. And in any event, you would need to call the respective department or dial the main number at 386-329-0100 so that we can coordinate whatever meeting is necessary for everyone in that position. We're going to be closed on Friday for Good Friday, just for the public's information. And also the critical questions that are going to be asked before you're able to enter any city building are posted above. And we also advise you to use those same questions at your home when dealing with individuals who've not been inside of your home. And those questions are simply, have you been out of the country or on a cruise in the last 14 days? Have you been in areas where people with COVID-19 have been identified in the last 14 days? Have you been sick in the last 14 days? Have you had cough, sneezes, or runny nose in the last 14 days? If your answer is yes to any of those questions, you're not permitted to enter the building. And we would ask you to call 386-329-1904 for further information as it relates to testing. And so there are three major points that you're getting for screening on the COVID-19 spectrum from the Florida Health Department. And again, they ask, are you experiencing fever, cough, or shortness of breath? Number two, have you been around someone diagnosed with COVID-19? Number three, if you're 65 years or older and you have underlying health conditions, or are you a healthcare worker or first responder? If you answer yes to any of those questions, contact the Putnam COVID-19 hotline at 386-329-1904. It also gives you guidance for self-monitoring as well. And so these things will be posted on all our sites. And so if you have any questions, please refer back. Again, the health department's in the lead as it relates to this pandemic. So again, we're trying to create a central area for all information, regardless of whether it has to deal with school closings, city office hours, or anything related to health issues. Again, the best contact number for information is going to be 329-1904, area code 386-329-1904. If you have direct issues relating to the city, if it's sanitation or any other issues, then dial the 329-0100 number. And we'll continually post that information up for you and provide it in as many venues as we can to make sure that information is out to you. So at this time, if there's anyone who has a question for public comment, you have the ability on your YouTube page to actually put in your question, type in your question in the comment section. Someone is monitoring to the questions, and those questions will be read. We're going to give a couple minutes so that everyone will have an opportunity to put their questions in. And again, if it's health-related questions, we ask that you send those directly to the health department as it relates to testing and screening, because they control the criteria necessary to get those things in place. And so if there's anyone that has any questions, please type in your name for the record and type in your question at this point, and we're going to take a couple seconds to make sure that we address whatever questions are there. So at this point, I'll open up public comment. Is there anyone that has any questions? So use your chat feature on YouTube or your comment feature and ask your questions at this point.
And just for the record, Mayor, we are about 5 seconds behind, and at this time, I do not see any questions coming up in the chat box.
Okay. Okay, seeing no questions, we're gonna go ahead and close public comment. Commissioner, if you get any questions that come in, then just let us know and we'll come back and address those.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 2 of the agenda, which is our consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we've got items A through J. Are there any items on the consent agenda that you wish to have removed at this point?
I don't wish to have any removed, but I would like, since we have a new city manager, on E, where we're getting funding back from the federal government, to let him know any receipt, piece of paper that he gets, to hold on to it, because when the league goes to Tallahassee, they have been fighting to stop FEMA from coming back on some of the cities during some of the storms as far back as 10 years, looking for receipts and trying to make some of them pay some of the money back that they gave them that was given to them in good faith. That's just for us to really know. So if there's anything that you've got, make sure you keep those receipts. The other thing is that's just accepting the three choices that were given to us for the audit people. I was asking a question. Did you hear me?
I didn't understand your question. What's your question?
I was saying we have down here accepting the audit report, report by the audit firm. Is that we're accepting those three, the top three? Is that what we're voting for now?
We're voting basically. We're accepting the rankings as they were and having permission to enter into a contract if negotiations are successful with the top ranked firm as the audit committee, which is the commission, went forward with.
Okay. I just need a clarification.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
I'll
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Vice Mayor Brown. There's a second by Commissioner Campbell, if I heard the voice correctly.
No, that was Tammy.
I think Campbell said it first. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing
Question.
none, in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving
I do
on.
have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a question on the floor, so whenever you're ready.
Okay, we'll go
I'm in
back.
public.
We'll go back to public comment.
Hey,
What's the question?
Timothy Ramos would like to know if there will be a curfew put in place to stay at home here in Palatka.
Well, and I'll go ahead and answer that. The curfew is going to be a collaboration between the city and the county as it relates to staying at home. One thing I will say, and Chief Shaw, you can join in if you want. We've had conversations with the sheriff as it relates to curfew in Putnam County. At the current time, the posture is not to put the curfew in place because we have a governor's order that's advising everyone to stay home unless they are out for essential purposes. Unfortunately, within the community, we've got a lot of people who are still having large gatherings. Just as of yesterday, we had a group that had to be disbanded that was having a large gathering and blocking several blocks within the city. And what we've got to do is we have to be proactive in making sure that everyone within our community is behaving properly and taking seriously all the precautions necessary for us to engage in social distancing. If you look at all the reports that are out there, it says that we are in essence breaking the curve because of positive behavior nationally, and the projections are about 21,000 less on estimated deaths right now than what they were a few days ago. But that means nothing if we continually relax and we're not doing what we're supposed to do, because just as easy as those numbers go down, they'll go up. If you look at the behavior in Putnam County right now, we've just recently went from 12 positive tests to 24 positive tests in about a 7-day period. rural communities are lagging further behind based on the curve than what most of the metropolitan communities are. And so because we have a small number of testing, we have to still make sure, just because we have a small number of positive tests, we have to be conscious of the fact that we may be on the backside of the curve. The reality is we have people in our community that have been in ICU on ventilators. We've had a death in our community, and we have to continually do everything necessary for us to do what we need to do. So at this time, there isn't a curfew, but we're continually seeing an exhibition of bad behavior in some of our places, particularly with some of our younger citizens in the gatherings that are in place. And if we find that it's necessary for us to implement a curfew in order to get people to abide by the governor's order, we will definitely do it. We review it on a bi-weekly basis to make sure, and really on a daily basis to make sure that we're doing what's best for our citizens. Chief, you have anything else?
No, Mayor, I think you covered everything. You hit everything on the head as far as what our plans are moving forward and the activity of the community, what's been observed here in the most recent future. I'm sorry, recent past.
Okay. Thank you. I hope that answers the question. Do you have any more questions, Commissioner?
No, sir, we don't.
Okay, thank you. So moving on at this time, we've got city manager and administrative reports. Mr. Shanahan.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you because I'm next to you.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, we have a new logistics person in place, and he came in-house, Winston, and he's doing a real good job. Secondly, the mayor extended the emergency declaration. We're keeping our citizens as updated as possible with COVID-19. As you can see, we now have a digital meeting in place. We are making sure that our employees are safe and following all the policies and rules. And we're getting ready to start looking at the budget process. That would be it, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Shanahan?
I was gonna ask Mr. Shanahan, if something comes up, would you give me a call instead of the email if it's critical? Sometimes
Yes.
my email doesn't go through like it should.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And so I'll move on this time. Let me go through. Chief Grimes, you have anything?
No, sir. I'll send out an email tomorrow to keep everybody updated what we're doing.
And Chief Grimes, and just for the record, Chief Grimes has been working diligently in making sure, along with Chief Shaw and the rest of our staff that's working logistics, and making sure that we have all the necessary equipment in place, our PPEs and things of that nature. So he's been working diligently along with the rest of our staff and making sure that we're getting all the necessary contacts for safety gear. Mr. Holmes. Sir?
I have nothing.
Okay.
Are you asking me if I have a comment?
Yeah, no, we're asking you, you have any reports or anything that you want to update us on?
Oh, no, I don't.
So Mr. Holmes has been inundated continuously with these executive orders that the governor continually puts out, doing the reviews on those, as well as a lot of legal drafting is necessary for us to make sure that we ensure that certain things are in place. And so we appreciate your help as well. Mr. Griffith.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
We have been without both of our inmate squads since the 16th. Just so you know, you may see a little bit of the service level in regards to right-of-way mowing, cemetery mowing, and grounds maintenance suffer a little bit. The staff we do have on hand is doing a really good job to try and keep up with it. But just wanted you to be aware that we are without both of those inmate squads. If you do see something that you'd like us to address, feel free to call me or the office, and we'll make sure to make it a priority. The other item is we're looking at calling a special called CRA meeting on the 23rd. You'll be receiving an email from Mandy She's going to brief you on the items that are a priority that we need to address, and also probably give you a little friendly reminder to have your rankings done for the consultant selection. That's all I have.
Thank you, certainly appreciate it.
And also, Mr. Griffith, just talk a little bit about some of the precautions that you guys are taking as it relates to your guys on the streets.
Yes, sir. Most of it is just distancing. It's reminding the employees, unless they have a reason to come into the office, don't come into the office. Try and limit interaction with the public and other staff members. Anybody who's sick, we're encouraging them just to go ahead and stay home. Even if it's not symptomatic with COVID-19, we don't need any of our staff to go out for any other illness. Just plain common sense, sir. That's all.
All right, thank you. Chief Shaw.
Question on staff in proximity. Are we still practicing safe distance and also using the proper PPE as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
While supplies last, Commissioner Borum, we are diligently looking for more to sustain us throughout this entire process.
All right.
Chief Shaw.
No, sir, I have nothing further.
And again, I know your guys are out on patrol, constantly trying to enforce the governor's order and make sure everything is in place, as well as taking every precaution necessary to ensure public safety. So again, we appreciate you. Next up, Ms. Becker.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to let you all know that I've been in close contact with each of the department heads, making sure that we're looking at cash flow. We're looking at some of these unexpected expenditures, dealing with COVID, trying to make sure, because, you know, obviously going into the late summer, fall, at the end of our fiscal year's hurricane season. So we want to make sure that we keep a tight watch on everything now, so that in the event that we have to look at that. I've also made some adjustments with my staff, with their scheduling. We don't have very many people. So my fear is, if somebody gets infected, you know, we don't want to have everybody in the office out. So I've kind of made some adjustments there. It seems to be working from home. Everybody seems, or some people are working from home some days, alternating. I've checked in with everybody. Seems like it's working out well. Next meeting, we will bring forward to you the 6-month review of the budget, and just continuing on with audit and starting out with the budget, or working through the budget process.
Thank you, Logan.
Thank you.
And we're glad to see you back.
Yes, I'm happy to be back.
All right, Ms. Tucker.
No, I don't have anything at this time. Thank you.
And just for the record, we've got Mark Hayes here he's also here with Inspired Technology, that's been working diligently to get us up to about 2005 in technology. And so he's brought us from the 80s forward. And so we definitely appreciate the extra hours that those guys have put in to kind of help us out at this point. Mr. Yule. Mr. Yule, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir, I hear you.
Hello. Oh, okay. Hey, just a couple of things. Even though the FBO building is closed to the general public, the airport is open to the flying public, and we are getting traffic in, and our fuel pumps, our self-serve fuel pumps are working, and we are out here to pump jet fuel for jet aircraft. We are finishing up a runway 17 taxiway alignment problem out here at the airport, probably another week or two, and it's looking very good. And we have installed some outside lighting and inside lighting on the west hangars. So the appearance of the airport is going to be a little bit different when you drive past it on your way west. And that's it. Just want to let everybody know, if you see airplanes flying around, the airport is open. And that's it.
Okay. Miss, thank you very much. And we definitely appreciate your hard work. Ms. Robinson.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. Just a few things where HR and finance has been working closely together in regards to the COVID Emergency Family Medical Leave Expansion Act, as well as the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act. We are trying to keep our staff as abreast as we get the changes as they come through daily to make sure that their time is being taken care of as given to us through the guideline. Also, the last thing that we have from Florida Blue and some of the other insurance agencies, even if you're not a member of our agency, Florida Blue, they've opened up an enrollment period for employees who had refused medical insurance only from the time of April the 1st through April the 15th. So with Florida Blue, our employees who do not have insurance currently can sign up for medical insurance only during this time.
Okay. And when does it kick in? Does it kick in immediately?
Yes, as of April 1st, it'll read for April 1st because it coincides with the emergency paid sick leave time off.
Okay, let's make sure that we get a flyer printed up and get that hand delivered to each employee who actually meets that criteria.
Okay.
Okay. Is Mr. Cutright still on? Okay, so I know he was on earlier. We may have lost him, but for those of you who don't know,
He's back.
okay, Mr. Cutright.
You hear me?
Yes, sir, I hear you. You want to give a report as to logistics and just kind of tell the people what roles you guys have taken since the parks have been closed and the facilities are closed. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you give an update as to what the adjustments in the role is for you in your
Well,
department?
most of our programs have been shut down until actually the school system itself starts back up. But what we're doing now is just really keeping social distance with the office and also creating programs. So when this do get an all clear sign, we'll be ready to go to kick out with new programs for the kids in the city.
If I may say something, Mr. Cutright, I would like to see via the Facebook page that we post things that citizens and our youth will be able to do at home during this time inside whatever we can find on YouTube, whatever we can find as links, just so that we still have a presence and we're still trying to keep those citizens as active as possible.
Yes, that's a good idea. What we was trying to do starting next week, we was going to try to do like a at-home youth fitness test where they can do 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups. And what we did was trying to come up with a grand prize of who did the most in the month. We get a dinner or something when everything cleared out.
Sounds like a great idea. And if there's anything that I can do to assist in coming up with things, I would be more than happy to assist you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. I would definitely reach out to you in the next couple of days to kind of get this formatted.
And also, so that you know, recreation and cultural resources are also they're also working at the logistics, our crisis management logistics team, to make sure that we have the core contacts in place so that we can move forward throughout this pandemic. And so they've been working on acquiring necessary items as well, dealing specifically with the EOC and any other vendors that are out there nationally to make sure that we have things in place such as PPEs. And so if you guys have any requests or any ideas, just make sure you get it to either Eddie Cutright or Winston, and they'll work through finance and the city manager to see if it's something that we can deal with as we blow Logan's budget. So those are the things that we have in place. I think we've hit every department. Vice Mayor, you have anything?
Mandy Tucker said that she has something to say, Mayor. She put it in the chat box.
Okay, Ms. Tucker, you got something?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to remind all of the department heads to please be sure that all purchases related to the disaster, that they come to me along with the FEMA timesheets for any employees that have disaster related work. that come to me every pay period so that I don't end up with however long this process is all at one time at the end. There's actually, I can go ahead and start entering the information now so that we be in a position to get our reimbursement money from FEMA quicker. So it's really important that all of those receipts and FEMA timesheets and FEMA activity sheets get to me in a timely manner every 2 weeks. And that's it. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Commissioner Borum, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How are we handling all of the documents, city related documents or business documents? Now, example would be those FEMA related receipts or whatever it may be. How are they processed and who all handle those? If it goes to Mandy, where does it end up at?
It ultimately ends up in finance. And
Yes, sir.
City.
So we actually, each department that has had expenditures related to COVID, we created a separate GL line within their department so that it's separate from their general operating lines. It shows that there was no budget there, but it shows all of their expenditures. Each department has it. So we're able to run a report that pulls all of those GLs. I was just going to say that we can reconcile, or we will reconcile. Ms. Tucker's just trying to be proactive. Typically at the end, we would reconcile with her, see what all we have, see what she has. She's just trying to be proactive throughout this process. And so maybe it's that we give her a weekly report if she wants to make sure if she's missing any of those invoices that we can give her copies of those. But ultimately we still try as best as we can to go through all of the same procurement procedures. The department heads are being really great about that, even looking at the thresholds, 3 quotes if we can, requisition first and then purchase. I mean, everybody at this point has been really, really good at keeping all of that. So we're trying to make sure we keep that separate, as well as the payroll side too. We have a special code that we created in payroll so that if somebody's out for the 14-day quarantine or anything like that, it's easy for us to pull a report to be able to reconcile with what the department heads give Mandy and say, yep, everything matches up, and we can send that on to FEMA.
That was perfect. I mean, I wasn't looking for in-depth, but I certainly appreciate it. I just want to know how things was somewhat handled on a high level. Maybe I should have said that, but thank you much for the details.
You're welcome.
No, I think it's a great question, Commissioner. I think the other part of it is, as we move forward, for example, we're looking for the N95 mask and things of that nature, and surgical masks that we can use. Part of what we're dealing with is we've tried to be conscious of the $5,000 threshold that relates to some of the things that are out there. But we may find ourselves in situations where we can't get the 3 bids or those things in place. And really depending on how the commission words the ways in which the expenditures can be put in place, whether that's we create an allocation of any amount that can be used towards COVID purchases or whatever it may be, that may be something that may be a more helpful tool. Because what we did initially, looking at what was in place, was we actually approved $5,000 as the amount that could be used on COVID materials on the first part of it as an emergency piece, understanding that we still have our normal channels in which we can start to do other things. And so, for example, if we end up using a vendor and it exceeds $5,000, then we're kind of inundated with the process of trying to get those 3 bids in place. And so, if we need to, we can come back if necessary. If we find out that that's kind of a block to what we need to do, then we'll reconvene and create an emergency policy, which puts us in a position where we can act out of necessity or retroactively do the things necessary to keep our citizens in place. And so I just want the commission to be conscious of those things as we move forward, because what we're finding is getting a lot of the PPEs or the mask and other things in place. They're really scarce because everyone around the world is trying to get them as well. And so just kind of keep it in mind that we may find ourselves in a situation where we end up making a quick call and trying to get certain things in place if we need to change policy.
Mayor,
yes, sir.
I think we can go ahead and make a a pre-approval, as long as we just kind of know if it's over and they just need to just say, hey, it's over, we need them. And, I don't see where we need to make a emergency meeting on to try to bump it up. I think they're fiscally accountable when they come to spending it. They got the 5,000 threshold, but if we need them, we just need them.
Well, the problem is you got to make sure you still comply with your own policies throughout the process.
Right.
So those are things that are in place, but we'll revisit it if necessary. And if we do, we'll make sure we do it so that it doesn't become something that continually becomes repetitive.
Mayor Hill, can I interject something into that?
Yes, sir.
Run into is with buying PPE is there has a lot of companies that had minimum orders. Running into is, let's say we're ordering N95 masks or KN95 masks. They won't sell them to us underneath volumes of less than 2,500. So what we're trying to do now is get with other agencies out there that are trying to order them to fulfill our needs. My order request now is in for 1,000 KN and N95 masks because as time goes by, we're having to put a mask on for every person that we see because it has got into the community. It does have some community spread. So as we're moving forward with this, we're going to have to try to find more of them. So the original request we have out there is to try to find 1,000. I've ran into people that have minimum orders of 10,000. And when you're doing this, you're talking anywhere from $2.50 a piece all the way to $8 a piece, depending on your manufacturer where you find them. So we're having some major troubles with restrictions of finding getting the quantity down to where we can still afford to buy them.
Have you tied into it with the league? I mean, the league might be able to assist in this manner because I know statewide people need those. Every city or county need these masks, and so I would recommend that at least check in with the league because they might have a means or ways and means to be able to get those and distribute those as well. So
we have.
Yes, sir. We're in steady contact with the League of Cities. We're also in contact with the Florida Fire Chiefs Association, the Professional Firefighters of Florida, trying to locate all these things. But it's just when you go to these individual suppliers, they know the demand is high, and I mean that's what we're trying to deal with right now.
So Chief, you have a suggestion as to what we need to do to kind of get you past your dilemma?
Well, right now we're looking okay. As we move forward, I mean, hopefully the supplies will come in to meet the demand. I would like to see if we do have to get out from underneath that 5,000. I don't know what we have to do because even when we're talking $2.50 a piece for the amount that we have found, and if you had to buy a minimum order of 2,500, we're at the 5,000 and we haven't paid for shipping. So that would be probably a question for Ms. Becker or somebody that was more familiar with the procurement policy than where we are with that.
Yeah. With us being in a state of an emergency and I have the documentation to prove so, the auditors are okay with that. I mean, as long as we did our due diligence, I have a letter from the chief explaining I had to go this way because they're the closest provider or they're the ones. They work really well with us as long as we've done our due diligence and as long as I can prove that during this time that declaration that you signed is all they need. I mean, and that overrides anything. So I'm not really worried about that threshold right now during that time. Now, if we have to come back, I know that somebody said that you extended the declaration or that the dates were extended. If we have to continuously do that, that might be a fix for it, or that might be the only thing that I see that if we extend past your deadline, but as long as I have that to show them, they're okay with that.
We're continuously extending based on what authorities we have. We've only got a set period of time in which we can actually make the declaration. So we just continually extend the declaration by writing so that it never lapses.
Okay, Mayor, then that's all we need for there to satisfy them.
And Mr. Holmes is charting that just to make sure that we continually stay in compliance. And so,
just so everybody knows, we do have requests in from through the EOC to the state to be able to supply some masks. We're just waiting for those orders to get filled. I have them placed into Web EOC, so we're just waiting to hear back. But we have ordered some to get us through until maybe a shipment can come in, because the first wave was going to the healthcare workers inside of hospitals and places. They say the second wave of equipment coming out is going to go to the first responders on the street.
Okay, appreciate that. Thanks, Chief. Vice Mayor Brown, you have anything else?
Commissioner has something.
Commissioner McCaskill, you have anything?
I do have a couple of questions from a citizen on YouTube. Stephanie Givens has a question that relates to Putnam Community Hospital. She wants to know if they are in need of anything, and is our response team ready for emergency overloads? And I think our response team, and if the hospital is full, where will the overflow go?
If she calls 329-386-329-1904, she can speak directly to someone who's with the policy team. They're with the health department. The hospital is there, as well as Dr. Malanek, who's the chief medical director for both the city and the county, and they can answer those questions specifically.
Repeat that number one more time, and I'll type it in. I'm sorry.
It's 386-329-1904, and she can ask the question. It'll go directly to the call center, and the appropriate medical staff is there, as well as the hospital. I can tell you there's been significant conversation about it, and they are prepared to deal with any shortages, as well as one of the biggest concerns is that from the major cities, you end up with an overflow of individuals coming to the rural communities where there's less impact. And so that's one of the concerns, but they have addressed it. They actually plan for additional hospital sites based upon what local buildings you have in place. So there is a strategy in place. And so if she has any information or any assistance, that would be the perfect place to contact.
Thank you.
Any other questions you have, Commissioner?
I do not at this time.
Okay. Vice Mayor Brown, are you back with us? Hearing nothing. Commissioner Boardman, you have anything?
Yes, we have all commissioners on the, Miss Mary not on the line?
We lost her some kind of way. We're in your comments. Let's continue on.
Well, I just have one thing on my agenda today. I know we've been here before a number of times, but it's Commissioner Borman. I'm making a motion to terminate the services effective immediately for our city manager, effective immediately. That's my motion.
Second, for the sake of discussion.
It's an unagendaed motion, so you would have to make a motion.
Can I make an emergency motion?
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second for the sake of discussion.
So the motion, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so for clarification, is the motion to go ahead and add discussion concerning termination of the city manager to the agenda as an emergency item? Is that the motion right now?
Yeah, that's correct.
And that was the second also, Commissioner McCaskill?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, there's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion at this time? We've got a second, I'm sorry. Is there any further discussion at this time? Let me pause and see if we can get Vice Mayor Brown back on the phone. Can you reach out to her?
So Mr. Shanahan is still in his probationary period. Am I right, Mr. Holmes?
Well,
he is.
I believe that right now you haven't, it's my understanding that you have not voted, or did I miss it? You did not vote on the motion to declare this an emergency item, did you?
No, we haven't. We're in discussion.
Okay, so the answer to your question, Commissioner Williams, although I would rather have the vote on the motion to declare an emergency item, and then if you want to take it up as an item, discuss the pros and cons at that point, because it's not on the agenda. So you had a motion to put it on the agenda as an emergency item. You have a second.
They're back on the call.
I guess you can vote on that item, that motion.
All right. We can't reach Vice Mayor Brown. So it's still four of us on the call. At this point, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion to take this as an emergency item?
I want to give it just a, did we attempted to contact Vice Mayor Brown already?
I've attempted, I got a voicemail. Mr. Shanahan actually reached out her number.
So I think it's important that all the commissioners be part of this conversation or vote.
So she's on the phone a minute. We'll try to see if we can get her logged back on. Hello? This is Terrell Hill. Can we get you to log back on to the call? Okay, we'll be. Yes, ma'am. We need you to get on ASAP. Okay, we need you on ASAP, so thank you. She's logging back on her phone. She froze up and dropped for some reason.
Mine, a Wi-Fi issue, I'm guessing. I'll let you, it should pop up.
Can you let me know when she joins?
Yes, sir. It should pop up on yours too.
Hello. Yes, ma'am. I'll give you to the mayor. She said she can't get on.
She can dial in. She can dial in.
She should be able to dial in. Tell her to look on her email.
Hold on. We're gonna, hold on. We'll stand in recess for 2 minutes while I try to get her on.
but it says connecting to audio for her, so she's not connected fully.
Okay, Vice Mayor, I need you to connect to audio.
She's good.
Okay, you're on.
You hear
Vice
me?
Mayor, yes, ma'am, I hear you.
Okay.
And
What's going on?
We can see her.
Okay.
okay, and since
Don't
you
move.
left,
Mhm. Okay.
all right, so
Do you want me to unmute all the commissioners?
yes. So commissioners, I have you guys all unmuted at this time. Just announce your name when you, so we'll have it for the record as we move
Commissioner
forward.
Commissioner Tammy
Yes.
McCaskill Valentine.
Once you speak, so Vice Mayor, so that you know, there's a motion by Commissioner Borum to terminate the services of the city manager immediately. That motion was seconded by before he made that when he made that motion, we have to take, in order for that to happen, to even have the discussion, it has to be taken as an emergency item since it's not on the agenda. And so Commissioner Borum made the motion to take it as an emergency item. It was seconded by Commissioner McCaskill. And so now we are in discussion on that motion. And so is there any discussion as it relates to the motion to take this item as an emergency item?
Somebody talk to me so I know what's going on.
Well, I guess the first part is, do we address this emergency item? And so
I will, if I could, Mr. Mayor, I will make mention of the direction I think Commissioner McCaskill was headed, and that is Mr. Shanahan's probationary period of 180 days is over on, I believe, May 4th of 2020. So I think that's where she was headed in asking me the question earlier about whether or not Mr. Shanahan was still on or in the middle of his or in his period of probation. Is that correct, Ms. McCaskill?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Holmes.
That might be the basis of the emergency or the need to bring it up, even though it's not on the agenda.
all right, so we've got a motion on the floor. Any further discussion on whether we should take this as an emergency item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Commissioner Borum, aye.
Commissioner McCaskill, aye.
For discussion, aye.
Okay, any nays as it relates to the motion?
Nay, Justin Campbell.
Okay, by a vote of nay also for me, by a vote of 3-2, there is there's a vote of 3-2, it passes to take this as an emergency item. Commissioner Borum, you can renew your motion at this time.
I'd like to make a motion to terminate the services of our current city manager, Bill Shanahan, effectively, immediately.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor in a second. Is there any further discussion? Which one of you guys want to start the discussions out?
Is there anything that you would like to discuss, Commissioner Borum, as far as your motion?
No, I don't need to, I don't have anything to discuss. Nothing, nothing to discuss.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion?
I'd like to have some discussion on it. I was unhappy with how Betsy's termination was handled, and I think that we have a very small group of people working City Hall, and I'd like to hear some of the reasons why right now. If y'all will talk to me, we can't talk to each other any other time, so.
So if I may, this is Commissioner McCaskill. If you're asking questions as to how the processes were handled, I was not a part of that. I think that you need to direct your questions to the city manager, who basically handled that part. We were involved, I think, at the same time when we received the reports. So if you're looking for an answer from me, I don't have any for you. I found out probably just about the same information you found out, probably around the same time.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, could I point out something?
Yes.
There is in fact a probationary period provided for in the contract. Ms. McCaskill is right. It basically states that notwithstanding anything else contained in the contract, the first 180 days of Shanahan's tenure with the city shall be considered a probationary period. For and during this period, Shanahan may be terminated with or without cause by the city. And if termination occurs during this period, the city shall not be obligated to pay salary or benefits to Shanahan as accrued or due for any period after the date of Shanahan's termination. So first of all, I would note that that is in the contract as Ms. Commissioner McCaskill alluded. I would also though note that there is a provision in the contract that indicates that there being a performance evaluation of Mr. Shanahan on or before April 4, 2020, and annually thereafter. That's at section 5 of this contract, which indicates that the city commission shall review and evaluate the performance of Shanahan. Said review shall be subject to a process, form, criteria, and format for the evaluation, which shall be established by the city commission with input from Shanahan. The process at a minimum shall include the opportunity for both parties to 1, prepare a written evaluation, 2, meet and discuss the evaluation, and 3, present a written summary of the evaluation results. The city commission shall provide Shanahan with an adequate opportunity to discuss the evaluation with the city commission, whether individually or as a body. The performance evaluation should be constructive in nature to enable Shanahan to improve his abilities and service to the city. So I know the question is going to be asked. I believe that the probationary period does trump the evaluation clause, but as a matter of preferred procedure, I think that it would be helpful to have the evaluation before a motion to terminate.
Well, this is Commissioner Borum. I mean, it's no different than what we had with Zariah Folston's departure as well. The same contract write-up was there, and you don't have to give any reason. You say with or without cause. And so I don't think that we owe any reason. Mr. Shanahan, he knows the reasons. So I should not have to be explaining anything to the public. We can figure that out later, but that was my motion. We didn't do it with Zariah Folston, so why we're doing it now?
Actually, with Mr. Folston, Commissioner Williams, McCaskill made the motion, and she actually read her reasons for cause on him, which was different than what we got today. But you're absolutely right. You don't have an obligation to explain anything.
And I'm exercising the with or without cause.
Yeah, I think that the difference is Folston's was with cause. Any further discussion from the commission? I'll just say for me, while I think there've been growing pains as it relates to coming into this position, dealing with COVID and dealing with some of the stuff we've dealt with, it's been hard. It's been a hard transition. I can't say I'm in favor of the motion at this time. And again, everybody has their reasoning. I've made similar motions before, and so has Commissioner McCaskill. And I'm just at a point where I'm looking for some continuity around here. But I will say it's a shocker. So, but again, we don't have the ability to communicate with one another, and everyone has their reasoning as to what they make their motions for. I'm not going to second guess Commissioner Borum for whatever reasons that he has. And everyone has their right to a vote and to their and a voice to say whatever they need to say.
He's not good for our city. He's not good for our city.
Okay. And so, duly noted, Commissioner. Any further discussion as it relates to this?
I really don't know what to say, but I think we are making a hasty decision, especially in the height of a national, a world pandemic. And we've literally, I just feel that we're making a hasty decision. Of course, like Mayor Hill said, we don't know everyone's reasoning, but as of now, I'm definitely not in favor for letting him go.
So, any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call the question. We'll go by roll call. Commissioner Board,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
No.
Vice Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner McCaskill,
Yes.
and my vote is no.
Okay. At this time, pretty much I'd like to make sure that we follow all the protocols. We want to have HR, IT, finance,
Let me announce the vote, and then you can go through that.
Okay.
The vote's 3-2 in favor. Is there any clause in the contract, Mr. Holmes, that calls for anything other than a majority vote? Mr. Holmes? Let's see.
I apologize. I was still muted.
Is there any?
There's not. Let me look and make sure before I speak. But as I recall, there wasn't a particular procedure specified within the contract as to how the decision would be made to terminate. I'm looking right now. It just says. In the beginning, it begins in the event that Shanahan is terminated or forced to resign by the city commission. So it just says by the city commission. It doesn't mention a supermajority or anything of that nature. I'm scanning as I'm going.
What are we looking for right now?
Just making sure, see what the vote is, see if there's a clause for a supermajority, or is it just a majority?
And I don't.
It's no different.
I don't see anything in it that specifies how the action to terminate is to be made, which would mean that it could be made simply by a majority vote of the commission.
Okay, and just for the record, Commissioner Boer, there has never been a 3-2 vote in the past. That's why I asked the question. All the other votes have been 4-1.
No problem. Thank you.
Or unanimous. Okay, motion passed.
You know, HR, IT, finance, and, you know, follow whatever protocols as it relates to access to the building, to systems or whatever it may be. I'd like to make another motion on after this too, but we'll just finish this, and I got another thing I gotta add to this whole. And it's still related to the hiring and raises and all this stuff process, but I got to add additional things onto it, like an amendment.
Go ahead. You got the floor.
You're going forward, we'd like to make sure we put a moratorium on all hiring and all raises at this time until further notice from the commission.
Second.
Well, who gonna do it? We don't have anybody serving in that capacity.
You figure it out, Commissioner. We'll get it figured out. We'll get it figured out.
So at this time, that would have to be addressed as another emergency item. And you do need to determine who's going to be acting as the interim city manager.
That's what I want to know. I mean.
Ooh. So.
We floated before. What I can recommend is that we reach out to the League of Cities for an interim city manager. And I think we still are under contract with Ms. Higginbotham, because that it was a year. If the I think it was a year contract. If the individual was selected, then they would still assist us with a recruitment process. I think that was part of that contract that I read.
I think she still is under contract with us. I think that's something if Mrs. Robinson, are you still on? I think she is, or the mayor should know that.
On herself.
Yes, ma'am, I am. And yes, the Mercer Group is still under contract for 18 months.
Thank you. So that being said, we need to reach out to the Florida League of Cities. We can look for an interim city manager. In the past, we have used our own, I guess the commission kind of was the come to, but if I need to select someone, I would recommend that we use Don Holmes in the interim, if he could take in that capacity until we are able to secure a new city manager. That's my recommendation.
Mr. Holmes, is that acceptable to you? I can't hear you. Unmuted.
I appear to be technologically challenged. I'll help out in any way that I'm asked.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor for Mr. Holmes to act as the interim. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion carries unanimously. All right, and Commissioner Borum, you got a motion for us to, you have any other motions?
Yeah, I have another emergency item that I would like to add, and that motion would be to place a moratorium on all hiring and all raises until we secure a new city manager and or we complete our budget process. That's my motion.
For discussion, I was told by Betsy they have her under contract as a consultant. Are we gonna need to have somebody who got some common knowledge about the operations of the city of Palatka?
I think we have Don, we just recommended that Don sit in that seat, and I think that he is knowledgeable, and if he needs assistance, I think he's able to seek assistance as needed. So we just wanted Don to sit in as interim city manager.
Don can answer that question.
The question is whether I would need any assistance from Ms. Driggers. Is that the question?
Yes.
I don't anticipate it. There might be a question regarding location of documents or something of that nature. I'm not in City Hall on a full-time basis, obviously, so I did ask for a resolution recently, and was told that there was not an index or a systemized filing of the resolutions that would allow for easy access. And I think that resulted in a phone call to Ms. Driggers, who had some information about where that particular resolution might be. So that sort of thing, I think it's possible that we would need help on. And quite frankly, if the need arose, then you do have her under contract. My understanding is from April 22nd until May 22nd on the consulting agreement. Right now, she's still employed. Her retirement date is not until April 22nd. So I would assume that she would be willing to answer questions on an as needed basis, but I don't anticipate the need for any extended presence by her or work at City Hall.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, this is Deborah Robinson. I just have a question. We currently have pending hires for positions that were advertised, and we have interviews currently. Will this affect this round of selections or any selections moving forward?
I think I would like to have our interim to answer that question as it relates to that. But I do know we're in, our city, we're in a fiscal challenge right now, and I think we're hiring faster than than we know what the projection of our funding coming in. So I think I would rather defer that over to our interim city manager now, and he can answer that question. I'll let him lead that and move forward from there.
Perhaps, Deborah, you could get me a list of the hires that are pending and also tell me whether or not the city's made any commitment to those hires at this point. And then, we can determine whether or not there's a critical need there that those hires be completed. And I can run that by one or more commissioners in the process.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Borum on the floor. Was there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? My only issue with a moratorium on hiring is when you've got critical positions that need to be hired. Let's say we have a truck driver or someone who's not in place, or we got firefighters. We find ourselves in a position where with 5 firefighters down again, or we need to bring someone in those situations, particularly since we're in a pandemic, that if that happens, it shouldn't require the commission to reconvene to make sure that we're dealing with our basic needs. We've had in public works a number of drivers who've left. We've had employees pass. We've had a lot of different things in place, and we've struggled to fill a lot of the driving positions. A lot of folks have been rotated throughout positions, and those are just examples. But even with law enforcement, you've had turnover, and I just don't want us to be hamstrung to the extent I think if the motion that you're worried about blowing the budget on raises, that's one thing, but I don't want us to be handicapped on filling positions that we've already budgeted for. I would probably feel more comfortable if we aren't creating any unbudgeted positions, or if we're not creating any new positions, but positions in the budget, if we need to fill those, I wouldn't want to restrict staff from doing that, particularly now.
Well, I would modify the motion to give the discretion to the interim in his capacity, and and we will allow for him to make that decision. I feel that he'll be fiscally accountable. He's fiscally accountable. So if I need to remove it, I will.
You could withdraw it because he already has those powers under the charter.
Okay. Well, I will withdraw the motion to put a hiring moratorium.
Okay. All right. Any further motions or any other conversations that as it relates to the executive order and everything else? We'll treat every action that comes as a part of it from there.
How much is this gonna slow us down from some of the challenges we've taken on to get done? We've got grants out there and things going on.
I don't think it's gonna slow us down anyway. We operate as a team. I think the most difficult part is we all know how taxing change has been for us overall. And it just causes everybody to have to buckle in again and in a lot of places exceed our roles as it relates to what our staff does, and even as what Mr. Holmes is doing in his capacity as counsel. The other question that you guys are going to have to look at is you gave a supplement to our last staff person who worked as the interim director, and it basically put us at it ended up being it put us at the $98,000 range on pay for that, and I think the supplement was $1,000 a month additional for dealing with the city manager role in addition to their own current roles. And so you're going to find yourself in that situation again. And so is the commission going to give that supplement or something different, or do you want to have a conversation with Mr. Holmes about what needs to be in place for him to take on the additional duties? Because it's got.
I would like to have a discussion with, I would like to have a discussion with Mr. Holmes to see if the supplement would be fine if we did 1,000 or 1,500, whatever it may be, but for him to even accept it. So I think that would be something that, you know, we as a commission can discuss with Mr. Holmes and see if he's willing to accept, or what is his number? What would it take for him to take on those additional duties?
But you got to be careful when you do that with the whole commission, just because of polling and those type situations. As an interim, you can have a conversation with them individually, but those conversations have to be kind of limited to just each person and has to be, you know, brought back forward unless there's some direction as to what's in place or where we are. And we don't necessarily have to negotiate that in public.
Mayor, if I may, do we have to withdraw that second to the motion that Commissioner Borum put in about the moratorium?
We're fine. Is it agreeable?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is withdrawn. And so we can have those conversations in the coming day. And if necessary, we can retroactive to where we are in order to get those things in place. From this day forward, as of today, Mr. Holmes will act in the interim capacity. Is there a motion directing staff to enlist to continue the services of the Higginbotham Group?
I'll make a motion to continue the services of the Higginbotham Group to seek a replacement city manager.
Second, sorry.
You can make a you can make that, and then they'll come forth with whatever presentation is necessary for us to move forward. So there's a motion on the floor to reconvene the Higginbotham Group for their services for executive search. And there's a second on the floor by Commissioner McCaskill. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there any other business before the commission at this time?
Are we gonna look at the leasing and what they call them, road runner, whatever they call the temporary person in?
Let's take 2 weeks. Our next meeting's in 2 weeks. Take 2 weeks and make a decision as to where we are. We're gonna look for if we're gonna do that, if that's okay with the commission, or unless there's someone who wants to make a motion that we do that and get a senior advisor in now. So seeing no.
Well, I think I'll go ahead and make the motion to try to get a senior advisor in now rather than waiting 2 weeks. I mean, we don't need to try to, you know, kick this can down the road any further, you know, so I would make a motion to go ahead and seek advice now.
Okay.
I second that.
There's a motion. There's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? I've got discussion. I think that wasting the money on a senior advisor when you got Don Holmes making the decisions is a waste of money.
I totally agree with you, Mayor.
Well, I said that at the pleasure of the commission. I mean, it's a motion and we'll vote.
There's a motion on the floor and there's a second. Questions called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So ayes are Commissioner McCaskill and Vice Mayor Brown. Are there any other ayes? Seeing
Nay on the senior advisor.
Nay on the senior advisor for Commissioner Borum. Nay by me. Commissioner Campbell, what's your vote?
Nay.
So there's a nay on the senior advisor. Is there any other business before the commission at this time? Seeing none, closing statements from the commission. Commissioner Borum, any closing statements?
No, I'm finished. I don't have any more comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner McCaskill.
None at this time, thank you.
Vice Mayor,
I don't have anything either.
Commissioner Campbell.
I wish just to ask the citizens to remain as safe as possible during this pandemic time. Try to stay home as much as possible. This is something that we all are trying to get used to, this new norm. So again, stay safe as possible. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know where we are. I mean, we've talked about, I don't want us to get lost on what's going on with COVID. We've got to continually move forward with our community, making sure that our citizen safety is primary, even during times of transition. Here we are again at the same place, but we're going to continually, Ms. Brown continually says the same things, that we're better together. This is really the first commission meeting that we've had since we were in South Florida at the beginning of all of the social distancing. And again, we just want to thank Vice Mayor Brown for and congratulate her on the 35 years of service. We're looking forward to bringing forth the resolution for the Mary Lawson Brown Marina coming very soon. And we're just going to continually work to make sure that we deal with all the items in this community. We're going to buckle down and do all the things necessary for us to move Palatka forward. Businesses are still coming, even in the middle of a pandemic, but our citizens have to consistently take this thing seriously. And every day we're here, every day we take action on behalf of the city. We find ourselves in a situation where we're all exposed. Other cities are taking measures, and we're going to probably take a very similar measure, that we have our citizens have some type of cloth or some face covering when they go out in public. City of Miramar most recently passed a mask ordinance during the pandemic, which required them to have face covering and have some other things in place. But we want to make sure that we just continually practice social distancing, do everything necessary for us to move forward. The grocery stores are probably one of the most difficult places for all of us to be. If you can get your groceries delivered, do everything that you can in place. Only come out for essential activities, not for social activities and things of that nature. And I know it's difficult to sit inside the house because my walls are telling me to get out, but we stay in as much as we can. I just want us all to just continually band together. We're back to square one. We've been in this position before, and we just have to make sure that we don't lose focus, that this is all about Palatka, and that this commission has made great strides collectively. And so while we don't always agree, one thing we do agree on is that we love this community and that we're going to do everything we can to make this community work. To our staff, guys, you have been here before, and I know it's tough, but we'll work through it, and we'll just continue. We'll just continue to band together during the tough times. And at the end of the day, we'll celebrate when we come out of the other side of this pandemic. But we'll just continue to work. So we're moving forward from a technological standpoint with the things necessary to have meetings or even to have town halls. So if you guys have any questions, Inspire Technology has really been, they've gone over and beyond the call of duty and making sure that we've been able to transmit. And so that's where we are. And so it's Palatka. We're still the gem of the St. Johns River, and we're going to move forward. Even in disagreement, we realize that Palatka is the real purpose, and it's protecting the people. And so with that, we'll thank Bill Shanahan for the work that he's done in this community, for being here. Fortunately, it didn't work out, but we're gonna move forward. And so that's where we are. If there's nothing else, we'll stand adjourned. Anything else from the commission? We're closing this meeting out. Thank you very much.